All right, easiest barrier to entry for a handyman or contracting for getting in business. You can do it in one day, just be in business for you. It's what you see in front of you is what you might need for just your basic, simple painting and drywall repair. Let's get into it. All right, if you're like me, you probably notice, if you're a contractor or handyman, you notice that everybody kind of knows a painter, or, Tom, Dick, and Harry is a painter. Because painting is a low barrier to entry as far as being a contractor, and also you don't need a contracting license in my state anyway, being Michigan, to be a painter. Because there's the handyman law where you can't. I think it's $800 or so without a contract or a license. That does not apply to painters, at least the last time I checked anyway. So your state might be different, but the reason why there's so many painting companies out there, for one, there's obviously a demand for it. Two, very low cost of barrier to entry. Like you can literally buy yourself some rollers. I don't have my rollers here, but like your 9-inch roller, a pan, maybe a pole, and some sort of ladder, and you're in business for yourself. So it's pretty low barrier. Now I'm going to go through basically what I would say you should pick up just to be on the safe side. You don't need all these tools, but it definitely helps and gives you a little more avenue for revenue in your business too. But absolutely, I'd highly recommend, if you're just thinking about starting your business and you want to start somewhere, I highly recommend a painting and or drywall work. And it's super easy to practice. You can practice on your own house, your own apartment, make a hole in your wall and practice patching it up. It's that easy. And that's how I kind of got I just practice on my own stuff and hone my craft. Now, I'm not the best drywall guy. Absolutely not. But I mean, I'm not the worst either. We can actually, I can get some work done and it doesn't look too bad. Painting wise, these are skilled crafts. It takes a lot of practice. I'm not saying you're going to go out there and be the best painter ever. No, but you're going to see what works, what doesn't work, what tools you like, what tools you do not like. These are some of the tools that I have, and some things I would say are required. Some things are not. Now let's go over the required stuff. Okay, so obviously you're going to need some sort of pan, and this is for a 9-inch roller. I like the 3/4 inch white Dove Purdy's. Different paints, different stains, different finishes require different naps as far as your rollers. 3/4, 1/2 inch, 3/8. Depends on there's a bunch of stuff. So you're trial and error. I'm not going to go through it all in this video. We're going to go through the stuff that you should have, that you can actually get to work today. It's super easy and straightforward, you guys. Again, pan, liners, some nap, some roller. You're going to need a 9-inch roller. I'd highly recommend you pick up a 4-inch roller too, just to get in those tiny spots. And then some sort of pail, a bucket, something like this. Yeah, you can use the paint bucket, but you're gonna want something else. And I'd highly recommend something. I think this is like, I don't know, Woods. I forget. Purdy makes this with liners. I like Corona 2.5 inch, and these are the Cortez, and there's another one too that they're on a job site, but 2.5 inch seems to be the perfect. And you just practice cutting in. That's where you're gonna go at. And tape. You're gonna need a lot of tape. Different color tapes, depends on the surface you're taping, depends on what you're taping, what finished surface you're putting tape on, because this is not always going to be a great tape for all surfaces. You might need something lighter, something heavier. More than likely, you just don't want to be able to pull up your tape line and then pull up the paint that you're trying to cover and protect in the first place. So highly recommend getting yourself some tape. You're going to be using that. We're going to go through the painting stuff first, you guys, but you're going to need some sort of pole. So you're not always going to want to get on the ladder and you get yourself a pole. I have multiple of these, like a small, 24-inch one that extends. These are extending. This is I think a 6 foot or 4 foot extension. And then this is an 8-footer. So 4 to 8 feet. You can see it right there. That way you can get up higher, and you don't have to use a ladder for everything. So you want to be able to cover some area, and back rolling, all that kind of stuff. So paint poles I consider them a must, just because they're low cost of entry and they save you so much time going up and down ladders. It's not even close, you guys. So we're going to go ahead and do some, I do have laser distance measures, but get yourself a tape measure so you can measure rooms. You can quote those jobs accurately. I mean, the customer might tell you, hey, it's an 8-foot ceiling, and you get there and it's a 12-foot ceiling. So, you're going to want to measure. And that being said, you're going to want, obviously, things to clean up. So you're going to have paper towels, trash bags, and your plastic. You're going to be covering up customers' floors. You're going to want drop cloths. You're going to want to invest in that stuff, but at least at a minimum, plastic. I have drop cloths, and those are great. But plastic, covering up other stuff, making dust walls when you're sanding. And I'm going to go through. You should already have ladders, so step ladders. Depends on where you're going to want extension ladders. And then, of course, I just put right here your Warner, basically a platform. That way you can cover a little more area. I have multiples of these platforms, and they're fantastic for the 8-foot ceilings and maybe even 9 or 10 foot, depending on if they have ones that extend. Get them. You're going to need to be able to reach high spaces. And if you don't already have a step ladder somewhere, like, what are you doing with your life? Like, you're supposed to, what are you doing just staying on ground level? Like, don't you put things up high anywhere ever? So, caulking gun. This is a dripless one. I think they all kind of drip a little bit, but get yourself a caulking gun. You're going to be doing caulk. You can practice, run those bead lines. You're going to want to fill in gaps. It is what it is, but get yourself a caulking gun. That's a no-brainer. You probably should already have one too. Going into drywall, you guys, it's going to take some time. I practice. You can do small holes and use this fiber tape patch hole. These are okay. It just depends on the application. They're not great for everything. You guys can see, obviously, but they do have like a little bit of glue on the back end, and they work. Don't get me wrong, and you can do skim coats and stuff like that. But you might want to go ahead and do drywall patches, and you can skim it out and YouTube all those kind of ways of doing it. There's multiple ways of doing patches, you guys. I don't think there's a one correct way. As long as the finished product looks finished and you can't tell there's a patch there at all, that's the only thing that matters, the finished product. You're going to need mud. Obviously, this is the green top with the glue on it. You're going to need other stuff. You can do 5-minute mud, 45, 90, all that kind of stuff to mix it up. But get yourself some mud and tape. You got different types of tape. Regular tape, you got mesh tape, different seams. Again, you're gonna find ways that work for you and ways that don't. But you're gonna need tape. They're super cheap. There's low barrier to entry. We're gonna go back. We'll come back to the sandpaper right there. But knives. Now these are level 5. I think I got one DeWalt here. You can find a lot cheaper than this. I'll link everything in the description, just, the cheaper stuff, maybe from Amazon or whatnot. But get yourself some knives. I think it's a 1.5 inch. You got a 4 inch, I think a 5, and then an 8. And then you got, these are skimming blades. You don't need those. It just depends on how big of a job you're doing. You can get by with regular knives. These really help, and they're kind of a bougie. If you're a handyman, they're pretty bougie, but if you're a professional, you're probably going to need them along with your bazookas and your 10-inch boxes and all that kind of stuff too. Highly recommend you guys look into level 5. Not sponsored by any means, but it's professionals like professional tools, and it's just the way it goes. Get yourself a trowel. There's different sizes, but something with a straight edge, easy. Like, I like the stainless steel stuff just because it makes a noise. You can see when it's absolutely clean. So as far as contamination or whatnot with other drywall mud and all that kind of stuff. And of course, you're gonna want a paint, something to open up paint cans, whether it be a knife, your teeth, whatever it is. Make sure you have something to open up paint cans. And of course, when you're sanding and you're reapplying, you're gonna want your sponges. You're sanding, you're gonna want, depending on how big of the job it is, but 80 or at 120, it just depends on what the finish you're gonna be doing. Start at 80 and then go up to 120, 220, whatever you've got there. And let's not forget a drywall square. If you're going to be cutting boards, you're going to want this. It's just a way to score stuff. And I haven't even put on here, but you're going to want something to cut drywall with, which is a knife. It's not on here, but you should already have a knife. Like, I don't know what to tell you. If you don't have a knife, why are you watching this video again? Come on, guys. But this is pretty much what you can get. I can get pretty small. I can get small to medium jobs done with this right here. And, mostly it's painting and small drywall patches and stuff. If you're going to paint, let's go over here, guys. You're going to paint this because obviously you got some crap right there and you got some other stuff, but you got some holes here, some skimming, but we're actually going to replace this area, but you guys can see right here. Ooh, yeah. So I left something in there. So we're going to replace this corner here anyway, but you can get a lot done with a small amount of tools and small amount of investment. I think all these tools in here, besides, not the level 5, but you could probably get everything here for a couple $100 and be well on your way in business for yourself. Like, it's super easy and straightforward. Like, you're just going to practice. The most thing is what's going to cost the most is your time investment to hone your craft. And I know they say if you want to be an expert on anything, it's like 10,000 hours. I don't even think I have 10,000 hours, so I'm not going to consider myself an expert on anything. But I'm getting there. I'm getting older, getting wiser. And just want to share, small things that if you're thinking about in the new year, it's already probably by the time this video posts, it's probably going to be February. But if you're thinking about doing it, just grab some tools and get at it. Practice at your own area, hone your craft, and get out there and make some money, guys. Like and subscribe. We'll see you guys on the next video. I appreciate it.